very transparent hierarchy structure where there's very clear reporting. It's called like a work in progress, like a WIP. So like for every task that I want done, I hand those down.
Right.
And I only hand them down to two people.
Right.
One is Marco, one is James.
Right.
Like one is money focused, one is ops focused. And then from there, it's their job to disseminate, not all, but some of those tasks down to the people. Like
Welcome back to Coffee is for Closers. We're doing it again. It's Matt and Pat, your favorite team.
It's Matt and it's Pat.
Roll the intro.
Ex-Special Forces sniper turned entrepreneur. I've scaled numerous businesses to 8 figures. My name is Matt Ryder. This is my podcast, and I'm telling you to put that coffee down.
Hey, so this week we're talking about different managerial styles. We just follow the trends in the comments. We just do what people tell us to do.
Yeah,
You manage some people.
I do.
How many?
I don't know.
A lot.
Well, I only manage like 5.
Okay.
Like
So you manage the managers of managers.
manage the managers that manage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which tends to be the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lots of, who would have thought corporate had it right?
Yeah. It's interesting to see how that pans out to be correct.
Yeah. It's so like, no, we should have we should have a collaborative work environment where everyone says their piece and then nothing gets done.
What do you think happened? The Knights of the Round Table? Do you reckon that's just a load of bullshit? Do you reckon
Would
they
have
got
been King
around
Arthur
that?
going, oi, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You do
The
this.
table may be round. However,
Yeah. There's
I
still
am
ahead
the
of
king.
it. Yeah.
you will do what you're fucking told.
Yeah.
This is to fake inclusion.
Yeah, exactly.
Not real inclusion, you bunch of dickheads. Now get out there.
Yeah. But I mean, there has to be a chief. There just has to be, and that hierarchical structure, people thrive under it. And I think it's, especially like when you're transitioning from a more sort of quote unquote collaborative into a more traditional hierarchy, I think it's a difficult transition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least I've been told for the people who are currently in that transition. It's no different for me,
Okay. Yeah.
but I think it's necessary because I think people work better when they're within their lane.
Yeah.
And you've got people who are more creative and you've got people who are more like, sort of day to day or like, like there's not that many people that like that CEO role that is a very particular type of person who can sort of take in all that information and then kind of chomp it up and then spit out what needs to be done. And I think like those people, there's a reason why there's that hierarchy there because like they're good at that.
Yeah.
That's it. You know?
I mean, if nothing more, I feel like, hierarchical control, a chain of command, all that kind of stuff, it serves for accountability, if nothing else.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Even if everybody is good and nobody actually needs to be told what to do, when something doesn't get done or when there's like a new task and it's got to, who does this, having some sort of chain of command allows for that to fall into a place. So I think that we've seen that, I've seen that in businesses, I've seen it in, in work groups, all kinds of things where people go, no, it's linear. We're all in this together. And then someone doesn't pull their weight. And that's what.
Whose job is it to hammer them? Like people have got to do that. And that's the problem. People can hide behind structure. I think so. Like what we've been adopting with the help of like one of our sort of board members is a like more traditional, but like very transparent hierarchy structure where there's very clear reporting. It's called like a work in progress, like a WIP. So like for every task that I want done, I hand those down.
Right.
And I only hand them down to two people.
Right.
One is Marco, one is James.
Right.
Like one is money focused, one is ops focused. And then from there, it's their job to disseminate, not all, but some of those tasks down to the people. Like if I give like, my COO a task of like, I need the budget redone for this, then he's going to toss that to the finance department and then work with them to make sure that it makes sense and then pass that back up to me for approval.
Yeah.
But like, I don't want to have to do it. Like I just, like otherwise I might as well just not have anybody.
Yeah.
So, and then that's very clear. And then I have like, okay, what is the date in which this will be done? Okay. It'll be done in 17 days. Okay. And then I write that down in my Gantt chart, right? Which is like my project management chart. James, like on James's sheet, this project, this timeline. And then every week I meet with him and I get an update on that. And so like, let's say it's a 3-month project. if I get told a week before it's due that it's not going to be on time, that person should be in trouble.
Okay.
Because like you've had 11 meetings.
Yeah,
You come to me now?
Yeah. So that should have been clear along the way.
Yeah.
If the timeline was unmeetable, whatever.
Yeah, or if it's just like, like I literally had this conversation with one of our guys the other week. They're like, oh, this isn't going to be done. I said, why not? Oh, because this isn't this. I was like, but this has been a 4-month project and you're telling me the week it's due? I was like, does that seem reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, there's this. I was like, okay, but did you know that last week?
Mm.
Did you know the week before? Did you know the week before that? Week before that? Well, yeah. It's like, well, then it will be done on that date, on that time. Oh, but I don't care. Like that's, like if you told me 3 months ago that that's an unrealistic timeline, I would have gone, sweet, let's bump it.
Yeah.
You tell me 4 days before it's due. No, fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
Work 22 hours a day until it's done because like you had all that time.
Mm-hmm.
Like what are we?
Yeah, we're forecasting its completion. Other things rely on that. There's other things that people are working on to be ready to go when that comes in. Yeah. And I think that's one of the issues. I mean, that's one of the things you see where there isn't a chain of command, like where it actually flows from a head to people to people to people and be allocated down. Yeah. Is that sometimes things can get lost in, very rarely does anything happen in isolation. Yeah. So because your piece isn't complete means that other pieces who are the subsidiary pieces or the, the joining, supporting pieces are ready or can't progress without that.
And they don't even need to necessarily know that because it's not relevant.
Yeah, that's right.
And then but the worry with that is that the managers outsource their entire job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then what you do is you have random spot checks of the work in progress reports of the people below the people that you're above.
Okay.
So if I give you 8 tasks and I see that you've split 4 of them to her and 4 of them to him, I go, what else are you working on?
Mm-hmm. What have you achieved this week?
Yeah.
As Daddy Elon would say.
Yeah, but that's such an apt response, It's like, well, what else are you doing? And it's nothing. It's like, well, okay, we're going to have a meeting tomorrow and you're going to give me all the projects that you're innovating and the initiatives that you're starting. Otherwise, I'll just not have you and I'll tell them what to do because that's really easy for me to do. Mm-hmm. And I can save that money. And if you're not driving the ball forward, then I don't need that role. Mm-hmm. And I can just go to them.
How many managers do you think, not here, but sort of generally, who have, optimized themselves out of the job?
Oh, tons of them.
Yeah, without realizing.
I spoke to a person the other day who works for Accenture, which is like the largest management consulting firm on the planet. And their finance department, right, for one of because they're like the world's biggest consultancy. They did $89 billion profit last year.
Wow.
Very, very, very large. I think top 5 largest companies on the planet. And their finance department of one area had to reconcile 7,000 manual transactions every day.
Wow.
Right? And so they had 12 people working full time in Excel to manually do transactions. And one kid came in and goes, oh, I can just write a macro for that.
Mm-hmm.
And he immediately, 12 people were no longer required.
Yep.
They didn't tell management, right? The manager of the department goes, let's not tell anybody that we've done this. Right? And they just said, okay, so they had every transaction reconciled by 9 a.m. the day of.
Yeah, right.
It was 1 hour for Excel, just Excel, to run the macros, and it had a 100% accuracy. Because they had that much data. When you have that much data, when you've done something so many times, the rules are set. Within, like Excel starts to just know the rules. So if you have someone who knows what they're doing, they came to him with the project, like, hey, I think I can outsource it. I think I can macro this. And like within a week, they were like, yep, done. And then and this manager, because it was done so efficiently, now they didn't tell anyone that they were doing it like that. They just thought he was like a wizard of a manager. So they then flew him around all the other departments around the world to do the same. And all he did was go, no, don't tell anybody. But we have a macro that just automates it. But if you tell anyone, everyone loses their job. Except me, because I can just say that I was the one who got it developed. And then I get promoted, and yay, everyone's happy. So everyone just kept their fucking mouth shut.
For how long?
Oh, they're still going. I mean, like, and this is like probably, I don't know, like it'd be at least 150 staff, full-time staff in departments all around the world who are playing Call of Duty all day but the work's being done.
Pretending to be busy.
Just flat out pretending.
Just carrying around a clipboard.
Yep.
Walking with purpose.
Yeah, that's what it is, right?
When people say, "How are you?" Oh, swamped at the moment. Can't talk. Got to get back to work.
Reconciles.
Yeah,
reconciliation.
Nobody's ever done data entry like I'm doing data entry.
No, exactly. So like it's really funny, but I think there's a lot of that goes on.
Yeah.
You can probably speak to it. Did you see much of that in the military as you kind of rose up? Just a ridiculous amount of hiding behind structure.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the army has a strict double handling policy, so that makes sure that everybody keeps busy. Is that even if somebody else has done the work, you too must do the work, or the work is sometimes done incorrectly, so that it later can be done correctly by others. Right? I've spent some time in police and military units all around the world.
Yeah.
And it seems to be a fairly well picked up, highly adopted policy of double handling as much work as possible.
It's like our friend would tell a story who went into customs.
Yeah.
Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Went to work to customs. I mean, that's more of an institutional, I think that story is more about bureaucracy and laziness and but he essentially he was working at customs and as an intelligence analyst and wanted to get some actionable intelligence to somebody who could use it before they saw it on the news. So went hard in the paint for a week. Right? Yeah, went hard in the paint, into work early, leaving late, trying to get the information that he knew because he had reliable sources, vetted and sent to people who could action it. And first of all, didn't achieve that by Friday afternoon.
How close though?
Yeah, and was counselled on rocking the boat and was told that he'd needed to, realign himself within the organisation. Went in the following week, didn't log into his work computer at all, took his personal laptop in and worked on a uni assignment. And at the end of the week was told, congratulations, you've done a great job. You've really, you've fixed all the issues that we discussed last week. And he was like, I quit. I'm going back to the army.
You guys are pieces of
this
shit.
isn't for me.
Yeah.
But I think on the topic of management, I think, of managing people, I think is understanding, first of all, that the reason anybody is employed anywhere is to do the work that they're doing, right? And I think that sometimes when you build the sort of family relationship and people get along and all that kind of stuff, that can get a little bit blurry, I think, for some people.
Yeah.
And within big organizations, there is places to hide like that. You see those really huge organizations like government departments where people don't seem to have any discernible job.
Yeah.
And in my observation, that's gone two ways. First of all, they just continue quite happily doing that and pretend they're busy doing something and everybody assumes that they are.
Yeah.
Right? And power to those people. There's plenty of captains and warrant officers that you see doing that all throughout the army.
Just walking with purpose.
Yeah, walking with purpose, pretending that they're up to something. I'm developing relationships or I'm,
disrupting.
Yeah, disrupting, right? All the things. But where people... who don't have the capacity to do that. I think some people don't have the capacity to hide and do nothing.
Yeah.
But they also are a piece of shit with no job, so they make up bullshit. And that's what we see. Certainly see that in government departments, but I see a little bit of it in the corporate world as well, who people just create obstructionist policy to be seen to be doing something. And that can go two ways as well. That can end up in you brought yourself above the detection threshold and now you're fired because you're getting in the way of things. Or people are like, oh my God, you're the best. You created all this new policy and
we need 7 people underneath you to manage this new policy that didn't need to be there in the first place.
Yeah, and it depends on how it's outrolled, right? Whether it appears if you save $1, it doesn't matter that you cost everybody below you an hour a day and reduce their productivity. You're not accountable to that, right?
Yeah.
So if the thing that you've implemented ends up saving the company 1% in the way that it looks like you've organized that, never mind that it costs productivity and, overall we're down 10%. Yeah. But if it looks that way, then people are, you're on the promotion and you get to create more bullshit policies somewhere else.
I think one thing that we did particularly badly was not having clear and defined roles and job descriptions with a unified purpose. So one thing that I've worked really hard on the last couple of weeks is to rewrite everyone's job description.
Okay.
So I've rewritten everyone, redone titles as well. It's really funny, man. People tell you they don't care about title until you change their title.
Yeah, right.
Oh, man, I just don't care. Whatever, as long as it's but no, I'm actually a C something or other. No, you're not. Not anymore. Well, I thought you didn't care.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
You know? But like, I get it. Significance and, you know, is part of people's needs, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, so like, but unifying them under like a singular, like we are going to be customer focused.
Mm-hmm.
So like you are the VP of operations. You are customer focused first and foremost. You need to make it easier for us to integrate, and you need to make it a dream for our clients to interact with us.
Mm-hmm.
That's your core mandate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so having a really clear, like, focus,
mm-hmm.
you know, so I think we did that quite badly because, and like, you know, I've felt bad about it for a while, and then I did research, and it was like the first things every single company fucks up is job descriptions and compensation.
Okay.
Like you either grossly underpay or grossly overpay.
Okay.
That's the problem. If you grossly underpay, you end up with a bunch of shitbags.
Yep.
If you grossly overpay, you end up with too many chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing gets done
mm-hmm.
because everyone's delegating to everybody and nobody actually wants to do anything because everyone's kind of very creative,
mm-hmm.
you know? So it's like, that's a problem. So and like the bonus structures will be too high or too low.
Mm-hmm.
And like we overcompensated and had too many we just overcompensated. Right. So that was, but like it made me feel good because I went through like some of the, you know, like Vern Harnish is a really famous kind of business coach. Has a book called Scaling Up. And it's like one of the few, like, he's a business coach, but they actually work just like, there's only like 10 or 15 that are qualified by him, and they all work as consultants to like super high growth companies.
Okay.
And they focus on like the economics of scale.
Okay.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Right? Like they were part of Atlassian. So with Vern Harnish, like there are very few people that are actually qualified. I actually worked with one named Ken Miller. He was like anyway, he's a good guy. He helped Atlassian. Okay. Right. Which is Australia's like fastest growing company ever or some shit. And like I listened in on some of it and says it's all very interesting. So what he would do is go into companies and just do like a 4-hour, just tear everything to fucking pieces, and then like simplify everything as much as possible. And that just help you understand like what are the things that are going to move the needle the fastest. And so after reading his book and watching a few interviews with him and stuff like that, he was like, you will always fuck up compensation. Every single company does it. It's inevitable. So like make sure all of your compensation plans are movable. Just have 6 or 12 month horizons on them. With like, this will change. We don't know if we've got this right, but this is a good first draft. We'll stick to it. Let's see how we go. Yep. You know, and then they've all got to be done. I was being pushed to like do, monthly or quarterly kind of, but like then Kim, who's like on our board, was like, no, everything will be after financial year. Right. Because that's how you know how much actual money you made. Yeah. What if you have 3 fantastic quarters and 1 fucking horrendous one? And then that negates everything. It's like, well, you broke even, no one gets a bonus. You know? So it's pretty interesting. So been reworking all of that, and I think that it seems like the clearer that we create everything and like the more in their lane they get. And it's like, this is your left and right of arc. This is who you report to. This is who reports to you. Go do your thing. That seems to be the best way.
Corporate bonus structures have been interesting to me ever since I started like working in this space and talking to people about, not just here, but sort of everywhere when I talk to people about bonus structures. Because like there's a lot of, in dog training is all about paying the dog, right? And building motivation so that they work harder and harder and harder for the same amount of work, for the same amount of pay. Yeah. And the corporate bonus structure thing, I think one of the biggest risks, what I've seen from people, had a long conversation with a friend of mine about this because he was really pissed off that he didn't get a bonus that he thought was due. And when it sort of come to understand it, it's that the bonus that he was getting was almost always within his grasp. And then it only took one time that he probably technically didn't qualify for the bonus, but got it anyway. And then the next time, because it was something outside of his control, right? But then the next time when he really didn't meet the target and didn't get the bonus, instead of that being motivating like you would expect missing a bonus to be, or it should be, to push harder, work harder, go harder next time, it had the opposite effect. It was demotivating. And so like one of the things that I see in those corporate bonus structures is if your bonus is too attainable, it's wrong. Yep. I think that bonuses really actually need to be less frequent and bigger so that you really do have to, it's exceptional to get it. And if it's a monthly bonus that people are on and like to just use basic numbers. If it were, if it's $1 extra they're going to get per month, you're better off and they could get that every month. You're better off making it a $12 bonus and making it like so much harder that they really could only pull it off once a month. Yeah. And that way, sort of the dopamine cycle in the pursuit. So I think like, a lot of people don't really understand dopamine, how it works, and there's more really good info about that getting out to the public through that like Andrew Huberman podcast. I don't know if you ever checked that out, but the way that it's like dopamine is not getting anything. In fact, that satiates dopamine. It's the pursuit of things. So by constantly trying to go after something is what makes you happy. And that's what actually drives you and sort of is motivation, is pursuit, not having.
Yeah.
You're relying on a whole nother set of brain chemicals when you have something to continue wanting it. That's a whole nother thing.
I think I set a really good bonus at the 7th level, not managerial level, but at the sales team level, because they only hit it maybe once every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
When they do, it's big.
Yeah.
Like it's good. Like it adds a few $1,000s to each person's pocket.
Yeah.
And it's in proportionality to who earned it.
Yeah, right.
So there's a bonus pool that they're entitled to, and it's anywhere from 25 to 35,000 amongst the team, and it's in proportionality to who fucking sold the most.
Okay.
So if then one person sold 50% of everything, they'd get half that entire bonus.
Yeah, but then does the team need to cooperate to get to that bonus level?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like they'll have to.
So that drives a bit of cohesion, you think, in that they it would be impossible for one person to do it all. So you're looking at people then saying like
it's a front end cash collected bonus. So they have to cash collect on new sales, not recurring, no nothing. On new sales, a different amount every month.
Right.
And then only grows.
Right.
Like it only grows, and it's in direct proportion to what I think we should do to hit the revenue goals. And like they hit it once every 3, maybe 4 months.
Yep. Perfect.
They ask every month, do we have bonus? Like 1 month they missed it by maybe a few $100. I was like, no. Oh, we're so close. I was like, yeah, you were. But you didn't hit it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so like that's what I mean. Exactly that is like that. The sliding scale in that way, like there has to be a line in the sand, because a variable reinforcement schedule like that is binary. You get it or you do not.
Yeah.
And so you can't then be like, oh, you guys were so close, here it is. Or, like here's a percentage of, like it's like it's either get it or you don't, to have the effect without that. Like,
and the manager's like, oh, we should give them this so close. I was like, no, they didn't hit it. Like, I don't think you understand. Like it's a red light, green light system.
Yeah.
That's it. There's no yellow light. Like you're either in or you're out. And if they hit it by 1 cent, because if what if they only hit it by $100?
Yeah.
Can I go, well, I don't think we should give them because you only hit it by 100. Yeah, that's not fair. Oh, isn't it? Yeah. Why not? Because that's a 2-way street.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, best case for me, they miss it by $1. Do you know what I mean? Like in my pocket, that's the best case for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I want them all to get paid and I want them to hit it because I want them to hit those targets. Like that helps me. But they miss it by $1, they miss it by $1.
Yeah.
Like I'll triple check it if they miss it by $1.
Yeah.
But like it's what it is.
What sort of like who's the best manager you reckon you ever work for? Or have seen?
Oh, Griffo.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By a country mile.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, I worked under him. But
even outside Army? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like that I still use that. His thing. There's 3 things that matter: your job, your career, your family.
Yeah.
That's it. Like that's a great management style. And like the ability to hammer people and not hold a grudge, I think is so important. Like his the best managers like have no problem with conflict. And that man has no problem with conflict.
Yeah.
Whether it's physical,
he enjoys it.
Yeah. So, but his conflict is fair. It's totally like, hey, you've done. It doesn't matter whether he doesn't like you or likes you. You're treated the same. Yeah, which is incredibly important. And everything's there and then it's over. Whereas, like I had another manager that just punished me in short and infrequent sort of variable doses. And it was like it was terrible management. Like when I was in snipers. Like, because one of the Bravos just didn't like me. Like, just hated my guts. So I would get the worst. It'd be like, hey, you guys are over there in the Hilton. You guys are over there. Hey, Maddie, you're underneath the fucking toilet block in the rain.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, motherfucker, like, I get it. You don't like me. Like, can we just put that out there? Like, you just don't like me and you're giving me shit jobs. If you just tell me, hey, man, you're shit jobs until I fucking die. Yeah. I'll be like, yeah, cool, man. Yeah. Like, whatever. It is what it is. Yeah. Bring it on. Yeah. Like, I can stand being in the rain. It's not going to kill me. But like, it was all those kind of things. And that's ultimately I was like, well, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah.
And then they were like, you can't leave, you're fucking doing it. I was like, I can do whatever I want. I was like, I don't owe you anything, man. Because like, I was like, I don't respect your management style.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that is what people don't understand about pressure, right? So when that's negative reinforcement. They're trying to get you to change your behavior. But the threat of negative reinforcement is that the behavior changes in a way that you didn't expect and the pressure is still relieved. Yeah. So like negative reinforcement is that I make you uncomfortable, and in the search of the relief of discomfort, you will experiment with behaviors, and when the behavior that I want happens, I will relieve the discomfort. That's how it works.
It doesn't matter what you do, if you just you'll just figure out a different way to relieve it.
Yeah, but that's right. So if you find another way to relieve it, then I'm cooked. And it's like, oh, that's not the outcome that I wanted. And then you can be like, but you can't leave because you're turning off the pressure. It's like, but I am. Yeah. That's that I got out from it.
Yeah. So what ended up happening? Like I did everything I was told. I did it all to a decent standard. Didn't complain. Yeah. Did not complain once. They were like, hey, you're doing this. I was like, okay. I was like, okay, I get what's happening. The only satisfaction that you want from this is for me to be a bitch about it, and that's the one thing that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So, like, I'll just keep copying it. And then from there, I just hit a point where I had 5 months leave saved up, and I had to give 6 months notice. And I said, hey, guys, if you don't stop this, I'm going to discharge. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm sick of it. And I'd caught them doing some things, like which I've told you about in the past. And I was like, if this doesn't get fixed and I don't see appropriate punishment, like, I'm out. And they went, no, we don't think it's appropriate. I was like, then here is the discharge paperwork, pre-filled out. I have 5 months leave. I'm out of here in 30 days. Mm-hmm. And they were like, oh, you can't do it. I was like, I can and I will. Goodbye.
That's happened.
Yeah.
It is decided.
Yeah, it is decided. Goodbye. Yeah. Sign this paperwork. You have to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was, that's the way that it ended, which is unfortunate. But, like, that is just, that was the poorest of management I've ever seen.
I feel like when people make someone shit jobs in like in a management style and not address it directly with them, it's a disgusting form of cowardice. Like I've always thought that back when we first got in, or when I first got in, the company we were in was, if there was a weekend guard, I had it.
Yeah, yeah.
And I went to the CSM and I was like, hey, I can't help but notice that I keep getting the weekend guards. And like, what is it? Why is that happening, and what can I change? Because clearly I'm in the shit and I don't understand why. The answer was like, oh, nah, mate. Nah, that's not it. Like, it's just a shit sandwich and someone has to eat it. And I'm like,
but it can't always be me.
I was like, yeah, but I feel like I'm eating a lot of shit sandwiches. And like, I get it. If it were just a random weekend guard, like I get it. But this is the 4th time in a row that there's been one available and I'm doing it. So what is it? And it was like, no, it's nothing, mate. It's nothing. And I was like, you're a fucking coward. Like, you won't even have this conversation with me.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Because, like, you're supposed to kill people for a living.
Yeah. But that's a different form of courage. You know what I mean? Like,
it really is.
Some people, like, I don't get me wrong, I hate those uncomfortable conversations. Like, I don't enjoy them. I'll have it, but I don't enjoy it in the fucking slightest. No. Not at all.
And I don't think anyone really does, but like,
there's people that love that shit. There's people that lean into that.
Yeah. But like, it's funny because, those styles, they ruin good people.
Yeah.
And like you can't manage people like long term that way, because you just end up with a bunch of fuckbags at the top. Mm-hmm. We were at that reunion the other day, and one of the boys, I can't remember his name, but I was talking to him, and they're all everyone's a fucking sergeant now, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, so how's work? And they go, fucking diggers, man. And I'm like, yeah, like I get it. I go. They're like, oh, back when we were this and we were that. I was like, have you ever, like, and I could be wrong. And I said to him, I go, have you ever stopped to think that we were probably the exact same, but you're just looking back on what we did with rose-colored glasses, and realistically, we're probably like different versions, but very similar to the people that you're now managing in terms of difficulty and all that kind of stuff. And he kind of looked, he went, nah. I was like, and there it is.
Yeah.
Like that is it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, the CSMs above them were like, oh, well, I was a fucking sergeant. And then so you give the sergeants a shit sandwich, and then it's just an ever-flowing shit of downhill, because there's a lack of people going like, Like, now that I manage a lot of people, I look back and go, fuck, man. Like, I owe some of those dudes apologies.
Yeah.
Not, like, for some of the instances that I've said, because, like, my last 6 months or 12 months, like, I was relatively low maintenance. Yeah. It's just, I'll do as I'm told, whatever. But, like, when I was off teams and stuff like that, when I was being done by Jace, Like I was a fucking nightmare to manage.
Yeah.
Like, and because I can talk and I'm not afraid to kind of dish it out, and I'm probably a little bit wittier than some of those guys, they just didn't know how to handle me.
Yeah.
And what they should have done, they should have pulled me aside and been like, you know, you can say these things, but if you do it in front of anyone, I'll hammer you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, but anyway, but I was the problem.
Yeah,
for sure. But I remember I saw one of those dudes that treated me like shit at a party, like maybe like a year later after I got out. He was like, oh, hey, man. And I was like, hey, dude, this isn't a thing. I was like, you don't have any authority over me anymore. I don't give a fuck about who you are. And if you're on fire, I wouldn't piss on you. I told him flat out. And I go, so we're not doing this.
Yeah.
Like that. And I remember I went, like one of the first longboat lunches that I went to, that one of the officers was like telling me to do something. I was like, are you telling me to do something? I was like, do you think you still have authority?
Yeah.
I was like, that was just because you had things on your shoulders that I didn't have, but I don't have any of those things anymore. So
yeah. Actually, I'm your boss.
Yeah, like
I'm a
you go get me a beer, bitch. Like, now it's just biggest person wins.
Yeah,
you know? like you're little, I'm big.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So it's super interesting how some of that stuff carries over. But it took me, like I was super bitter about some of that stuff for a long time.
Yeah,
but I look back on it and I go, yeah, I was probably quite difficult to manage.
Yeah.
And I probably owe some of those dudes. If I ever see them again, I'll 100% go, hey, man, like, full respect. I was difficult to manage, and
yeah.
I appreciate your patience.
Well, I've said it for a long time, man. I think that the Army takes a lot of credit for training leaders when, in fact, it actually attracts them. So, like, I've done a bunch of leadership courses in the Army, and they were all a fucking joke. And I personally, like, I hope we don't sell any leadership coaching, because I think that it's all a load of bullshit. I think that if you're a really good leader, you can become a better one, but I don't think you can go from bad to even good. I don't think you can do that, because I feel like that it's a trait of who you are.
It really is.
And you can't have too many, like, nature doesn't make too many people capable of actually leading people, because otherwise it'd be a big issue. It's like when you look at, say, in dogs, like actually truly dominant dogs, a lot of people will say that they're dogs, whatever, but the amount of them that are built is minuscule, because otherwise dogs will be fighting all the time. And it's the same with people. You can't have that many people that have really high level leadership and management skills, because otherwise no one would do the work. Yeah. And so I think it's like, and I'm not saying I'm a great leader, but I enjoy it. I enjoy managing people. I enjoy finding out what motivates people and moving them towards that, but we're keeping them like task focused, right? Like headed towards a particular thing. But I think the trickiness, the hard part in motivating and managing anybody is keeping them self-motivated, right? So that you don't have to be pushing them all of the time. Yeah. But then also providing a left and right of arcs where that motivation stays pointed in a particular direction, rather than just sort of spews out everywhere and they start going into lanes that are not their own. Yeah. I think
that's one thing you really can learn. Yeah. Is that, like, how to keep people pointed. Because I think one thing that I did really well is I'm good at rallying the troops, like, and getting people behind me. Just for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but people seem to go, oh yeah, like,
I'm in.
You can be at the front. Yeah. Like, thanks, man. Like, but I've been really bad at keeping them targeted in a direction, because my brain doesn't really do that naturally. I'm very, like, ADD, like that. And so if I let everyone into that and I let them see behind that, it gets very chaotic for them and they don't know where to focus. And that's what I've been working on with Kim, is like, so my development has been, how do I be a CEO? Because being a leader is quite natural for me, but being a manager is not. Okay. So I've got to figure out, like, I'm figuring out, like, I'm good at leading and just kind of like, everyone get behind me and we'll go do it. But that's leading from the front. And leading from the back is really different. And so I've got to learn how to lead from the back, because, like, I can just go and fucking kick doors in all day. Like, that's fun. I enjoy doing that. And, like, if you look at how, like, say, Ryan Serhnant leads, that dude leads from the front forever. But my business model doesn't allow for that. I can't just stay on the phones. Yeah. So, I was going to say, for you, that looks like having the biggest sales numbers and constantly doing calls and showing people what you're doing in that regard. Yeah. And he told me, if you want to grow this thing, that's what you have to do. And I was like,
Ryan said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I had him on the podcast. We can link it up here. But yeah, and I think, and I get it now for him, that's what makes sense. Because like if you look at like Maurizio Umansky, who owns the agency, which is another like probably one of the most successful real estate brokerages in the world.
Okay.
Like he is the top salesperson.
Right.
He is.
Yeah.
He's a fucking savage. Sells like $100 million house a week.
Yep.
Right. And but like for that model, it sort of works.
Yeah.
You know, but
maybe
what
even a requirement.
I think it is. Like he kind of has to be the big swinging dick. And then like when he steps away from that, like then, you know, he'll have to become sort of something else. Like I don't know, you know. But yeah, so Ryan was very adamant about that. But like I can't stay on the phone selling $20,000 programs. Like it doesn't make sense. There's not enough commission in it.
Yeah, it's not the right use of your time.
Yeah.
And that's what I think in real estate it is though, right? Because if you're
huge.
You're pulling the big deals, you're the front man deals, it needs to be you that's there doing it, shaking hands, getting the photo, and then it's worthwhile because we're talking millions of dollars in commission per sale.
Yeah, and Ryan will close the building and then he'll have his agents close the apartments.
Right.
But he's got to close the building, which is what I do essentially. I close the accounts and then we put reps in to do that. But like there's not like a value that I could put on that immediately. It's like, I take 20 grand off him as a joining fee or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
sense.
It's like, it's like, what am I going to, you know, kind of post about?
That's super interesting. So you are doing the exact same thing as him, really. You're acquiring the client at the big picture and bringing them into the company. Only normally there's a big sale there, and for us it's just you're in and away.
Yeah, and then it all has to go, you know. So there's not like a thing that I can point to and go, well, look what I did, you know. So I kind of have to play it differently. I have to do similar but play differently because like you know, for example, like he's and, you know, maybe I should be closing $300,000 or $400,000 consulting deals, like, but like I'm not right now. I have done, but you know, he's closing the biggest apartments, like so he'll take the penthouse, and then everyone else sells the other stuff, you know. So that's kind of how he operates, and he's fucking very good at it, and that's what Umansky does as well. But yeah, it's a little bit of a different model, similar but different.
Yeah,
just not as lucrative, to be honest. I mean, they're way richer than I am. So.
Yeah. You know what's interesting as well, I think, from leadership terms is accountability for the people that work under you and how much people take in that regards. Yeah. And I don't know that there's a right and wrong about that. I think that, you know, like if you were checking everybody that worked for you's work, then what's the point in having them? You know what I mean? Like at some point they have to be able to do those things and make mistakes of their own.
So we're using WIPs, which is a work in progress report. So essentially the way that it works is I have a Gantt chart, which is a type of project management, right? I don't ask what it stands for. I don't fucking know, right? But essentially like you have project, like, and then you have like build date, launch date, right? So it's like, this is when it's starting to be built. This is when it launched. This is when it's finalized, right? So you have those 3 dates and you just sit there and you go, okay, cool. Where are we at? Where are we at? Where are we at? Are we on track, off track? And then from there, like I have the project heading, but then they should have their own that has the project heading and all the subtasks. I don't care about the subtasks. I just care about the heading and where we're at with it. So I have all theirs, and I have my own projects as well that I'm working on. And then so every single week, as of like honestly this week, I get together with them and I say, these are the projects. Where are you at with them? Okay, those are what I've given you. What are you working on yourself? And then I'll put those projects into there. And then I might add a project as long as other ones are being ticked off. Like I did it with Marco this morning. Some of his stuff was due in fucking February. He'd finished it.
Yeah, right.
You know? He's like, yeah, done. You know, like everything was like, he knew everything. He had all the progress reports. He had done everything I asked. And then he had updates on everything that I needed. And then he told me what he was doing outside of that. And then I said like, okay, cool. Show me Anthony's whips to you.
Yeah.
Right? This is a spot check. I won't ask that every time, but I'll go show me. And it's like, sweet. This is what Anthony's doing. This is what he's working on. This is a summary. This is what I've got him doing. Perfect. Because it shouldn't be a 1-for-1 of what I've asked him to do. Because if that's the case, then I don't need to ask Marco to do it. Yeah. I could just ask Anthony to do it. You know,
but say you have a sales rep that makes a mistake, right? And does something they shouldn't do. They report to Anthony reports to Marco reports to you. That's pretty much the sort of progression. So if they make a mistake, the individual sales rep, at what point do you then, like, where does the responsibility for that mistake finish, do you think?
Yeah, that's difficult. I think
that is what I mean, that's really difficult.
I think it would depend on what the mistake was. So if it's a malicious mistake, then I don't think you can really blame anybody for someone trying to
if they do something on purpose.
Yeah, exactly. But if it's a procedural mistake, then so you have responsibilities and accountabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that the hierarchy works is that Anthony is responsible for the performance of all of our accounts, but Marco is ultimately accountable for it.
Okay.
So if their accounts are not performing, I'm not going to yell at Anthony. I'm going to yell at Marco because Marco is accountable for it. But it's his job to hold Anthony responsible for doing everything he's supposed to do. So it's just a chain of screaming. Right? That's sort of how it rolls. So but if it was if we did an after action review on it and it showed that the operational processes were shit, then it's we need to go over here and start getting into why that was even possible.
Yeah.
So what we would look at is the accountability and responsibility charts, and then whoever is ultimately accountable for that is the first person who's in trouble.
Yeah. And then you then intend to then leave it to them, and they trickle that downhill, or would you pursue it down the hill?
If someone has to hop on a meeting with me, they're probably going to be fired or promoted.
Okay. Yeah.
Either
one, 50-50. You never know.
Whatever I decide on the day. Just do the odd two-faced move.
Flip the coin.
At that. Yeah, but that's how it kind of should be.
Yeah.
So if the same with team meetings. I really shouldn't be on many of those because otherwise you just end up where people just ask you questions and it's it's not sort of stifles innovation because people don't want to be seen to be wrong in front of the boss. So then they just don't put their hand up and they don't say stuff, and it just sort of stifles everything. So it's the CEO, I used to make fun of my father-in-law. He was the MD, which is the CEO, right, of the Bank of New York Southern Hemisphere division. And I would see him in a park at 2:00 in the afternoon reading the paper. I was like, what are you doing? He's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm reading the paper. I was like, why aren't you working? He's like, I am working. And I was always like, oh, look at this fucking dude in his ivory tower not doing shit. But that was just his way of processing all the things that were happening. And ultimately, he had to sign off on them.
Yeah.
And then he would have to fly to New York every couple of months, and he was accountable to the board of directors who would fucking roast him. Aggressive roasting and screaming if he didn't hit KPIs.
Right.
So he was ultimately responsible for the investment strategy of the Southern Hemisphere, of the oldest financial banking institution on the planet. So it's that's a pretty significant weight, and so everything that he signs has to be seriously considered.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him about it recently, and I was like, it's people are liking me less. And he was like, welcome to the job, buddy.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, unfortunately, dude, it's just when you're the one who has to make the ultimate decision, you're ultimately accountable, because I'm ultimately accountable, right? In my job description, I am accountable for the revenue, the profit, and the hitting of all projects. That's it.
Yeah.
I have 3 things, but it's everything.
Yeah.
So and the way that I've laid it out is I am the boss, and then the board has an opportunity to tear me to pieces.
Okay.
And the board is here. It's James, Marco, and Kim, right? So it's but day to day, I tell James what to do. I'm his boss. There's no fucking collaboration. There's no business partnership here. I am the boss, right? But at the board, fucking dude, I'm responsible for this shit. If it's not there, fucking tear me to pieces.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, but I'm also in the States, being the CEO of 7th is a very, very big weight, because the CEO signs off on all documentation, and I'm the one who will go to prison if it's wrong. Right. So in the States, it's a much bigger burden. Here, you're protected a little bit more because, you're just protected more over here from a fuck up. They won't sort of point the finger at the CEO and go, it's you. They'll sort of point at the company, but that's not how it works over there. So when we finalized and we changed over to the new corporate system that we have over there, being a C Corp and all that kind of stuff, I said, all right, guys, everything. If you fuck up, I'm going to rail you. Because if you fuck up when it comes to finance or tax or compliance, that's my head, and I will destroy you. And so we're not going to be friends here. We're going to do the work. But if you screw up, you're in serious trouble.
Yeah, right. So you're ultimately liable, not just accountable.
Liable.
But liable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And for like a high growth company that will 100% be audited.
Yeah.
At some stage, because the moment you get on those sort of high growth chart things, it's like, oh, well, the IRS just goes, I wonder what the 5,000 companies we're going to audit this year is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Inc. 5,000. Looks like we've got our trick. You know?
Yeah.
They just hired 87,000 new auditors.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So like we'll definitely get audited. And so it's my responsibility because we don't have a CFO. So I sign off on all that too.
Right.
So like it's the different structure, which is like brought on new weight, I suppose, and sort of has been like the lead in for a new management style, which is far more like, no. This is not a game.
Yeah.
We're not friends. We have to get this stuff done.
Yeah.
Because now there's serious money involved, lots of people, and like liabilities that I have no interest in being.
Mm-hmm. So let me play devil's advocate to your Gantt thing. Do you think that it potentially, like giving such rigid left and right of arc, what are the risks that you then close people in and sort of stifle innovation a little bit?
It's part of the job description to innovate.
Okay. Right.
So it's written into their job role.
Right.
So you need to be able to come to me. So every 2 weeks, so this is my new management structure. Every 2 weeks, there's a creative strategy session.
Okay.
So where like each department head will have an opportunity to present innovative strategies that they want to introduce.
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, I'll take them all on board. I'll get rid of like fucking 92% of them.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that I think have legs, I'll say create a project plan. They have to create a project plan and then send it back to me for approval.
Okay, cool. So in order to avoid stifling innovation, it's part of their job and it's something that they then have to allocate time and resources to each week.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that, knowing that much of it will be fruitless. That when you force innovation, sometimes you're going to get some awesome ideas, but then other times you're just going to get like, we should write notes on bricks and throw them through windows.
Yeah, it's like, all right, mate.
You know what I mean? Like, I did something. I came up with an idea.
Yeah. So we'll just have, and if they haven't got anything or whatever, it's like just hearing all the other ones, because Marco will have 40 of them.
Yeah.
So it's just the way that he works, so that will help. And then the other thing that I'm brought in is a weekly airing of the grievances.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is designed to elicit conflict,
mm-hmm.
but in a more positive tone.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll run it. There is no rebuttals.
Okay.
Right? Like each department will have, I think, like 10 minutes or whatever it is, and they have to stick to a rigid structure, and I'll run it. So I'll go, Pat, what is Marco doing to make your life better or make your life worse?
Really?
To make
you're going to keep it that rigidly directed? It's not going to be a free, like, Pat, what's up with you?
No.
No.
And then I'll go, okay, what's James doing? What's Tori doing?
Okay.
What's Ben doing?
Okay.
And so you say, yes, Ben has like not given the warnings that I needed to give to the people, and he hasn't finalized the hiring of this person, and that is a frustration because I have a deadline of this time that I don't know that I'm going to be able to meet because this isn't done.
Okay.
Perfect. Write it all down. Ben goes, and I go, no. This isn't up for debate. This is what's happening. And then we go around the room.
At least this is how how Pat perceives it.
And then it's like, and then Ben has his opportunity, and he goes, well, as per the last, I've asked for the job description 6 times and it hasn't been done. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Looks like you should get together after this and sort that out.
Yeah.
But it's like no one's intentionally fucking anyone around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what I think people don't understand. It's like, there was an issue with 2 staff in here. I won't say who they are the other week. And one person said, this person's doing this. And I was like, have you told them? They went, nope. And I was like, then how are they going to fix it?
Mm.
So I went, oi, come here. Into the room. I was like, this person has this issue with you.
Carry on.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And I was like, is it reality or is it perception? Like, what is it? Because I'd also been told this same thing by a different person. So obviously this is what's happening. So let's just nip this in the butt right now. Mm-hmm. And most of the time it's like, oh, sorry, I didn't know that was a problem.
Yeah.
And like, I think people think that those are going to end badly with people, but really 99% of the time it's going to end with like, oh shit, man, I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
Because no one is intentionally fucking anybody around.
No.
We're all on the same team.
Yeah.
So it's like, but if people aren't going to tell people when they're doing something that's hindering their job or not getting things done fast enough or whatever, then it's like, how is anyone supposed to fix anything?
Mm.
And I think one of the problems is that everyone here has like a close personal relationship. And so it's like, we have to kind of leave that at the door and you have to be able to go, hey man, like I need this done. Like this has to be done.
Yeah. And I think as well, like in vain with that is sort of delineating between excuses and reasons. Like Like sometimes there's a good reason why something can't be done. And it's because like, hey, you don't understand everything that we're doing. Say like just in my area in creative department, there's a lot of different people to service. And so when someone says, hey, I need this, it's like, yeah, but like, and everybody, what they want is important to them and therefore is a rush, right? And they need it fast. And that's fine. But we also have these other things, and you can jump the queue. Like if there's a good reason to jump the queue, otherwise you're just in the queue. And the good reason, like I need to weigh that against all my other things, and you can't know everything that I'm working on. As a requester of something, you can't know it. And I think it's just having the balls to actually have those sorts of conversations.
But you're pretty good at that. Like with Marco, for example, Marco gives a ridiculous request, like, I need video Facebook. You know, you're like motherfucker, like that makes no sense.
Yeah.
And you go, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like that, but everyone goes, okay. And then has a 3-hour meeting to try and decipher what.
And what a waste of time when you can just say, hey, what do you mean by that, man? Where's that going? When exactly do you need it by? Okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay? Rather than like,
and it's done.
Yeah.
You know, and like that creates a cadence of like, yeah, I'll do what you need, but you got to give me the information.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you the information I need. Because sometimes those people, like they just.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't know,
that's right. I think you sort of hit the nail on the head a little bit when you say that, like, nobody is ever, I think, I mean, of course there's dickheads in workplaces, right? But there's very, very rarely, if ever, are people intentionally working at cross purposes. Yeah. It's usually just because like everybody in their individual section, people are highly motivated, they want to be successful, and they are accountable to what they're accountable to. And if you're a supporting asset of that, they bring you under their basket of accountability. It's like, yes, but I'm the supporting asset to many other things. Yeah, and the same people are asking the same things. And so I need you to be honest. When do you need this by? Yeah. That's the big one. Yeah. Like, when actually do you need this? Because we'll have it ready. Yeah. But if you say you need it for Tuesday and I find out you didn't need it until the following week,
that's why.
You go to the back of the line.
Yeah.
Why are
you fucking me around on purpose?
Yeah.
So I think that's the key. And so what I'm trying to do is develop a culture of like, just speak your mind. Mm-hmm. And like, you have to be respectful.
Of course.
Like, obviously you've got, subordinates and superiors and all that kind of stuff. And you've got to go, like, if I give someone 25 projects, they should go to me, okay, but which ones do you want me to stop doing?
Yeah.
Because like, I can't, or will you approve overtime?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I really need these done. Okay, well, it's going to take me an extra 2 hours a day for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, I'm willing to do it, but I need overtime. And I go, okay, I approve overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Or be like, well, okay, I don't actually need those ones. Mm-hmm. Like, I had someone come to me, a contractor come to me recently and want a bigger rate for full time. And they said, if you want me full time, this is the rate. I said, then I don't want you full time.
How'd that go?
Well, they were very surprised. And I was like, well, if that's the rate, like, I don't want you full time. If you're having trouble with the load of projects that you require, I'll take these 3 projects off you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, no, I didn't do it. I did it. I was just like, well, no, I don't want to pay that much for that work. Like, I have other resources available to me. I will just keep paying you the same, take those projects away, and we should have a problem. Mm-hmm. But that's not what they want.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, do you just want more money? I don't understand. So like, and it's fine, but like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And I won't overpay.
Yeah.
I don't have anything that I think is particularly pressing. Mm-hmm. That would require me to pay what I would consider double market rate for something. So it's like, well, like, why do it? Mm. And I think people are surprised when you go, well, no, I just won't do that.
Yep.
But I thought.
I thought I had you by the balls, so I'm curious. What am I holding here?
Yeah.
They're your own balls. Yeah. Enjoy.
Enjoy. So that's interesting. It's interesting, but I think, in my progression as CEO sort of things, I'm getting better and better at that. Of just looking at things more analytically and going, okay.
Here's, before we wrap it up, here's something that sort of I think about. If Matt today can have a conversation with Matt 2 years ago, and it's you got 30 seconds. You're a time traveler.
Yeah.
There's a small interdiction in time where you get to observe yourself
at the end of 2021.
That would have been good advice.
Yeah, that would have been good advice.
Yeah.
No, I would say it would be like for me, it would be something that I can actively do because so the only thing that I should have actively done much sooner was focused on my own like sort of done what Marco did. I think one thing that Marco did very well was he organized himself very well, because it's impossible to manage people well if you yourself are not organized.
Totally. Fuck yeah.
And I have, like, my brain has a good capacity to manage many things at once, right? However, that is a very difficult thing to work under, because if I can do it, why can't you? And like, you know, I can throw a ball really well, but like, you know, Mooney can outrow me, probably, and he can outrun me, and he can certainly fucking outpack march me. But like, my ability to kind of have everything up here all at once is really good. But that comes from the fact that I couldn't fucking read as a kid. I had learning disabilities, and I just learned to keep everything up here. But now there's so many things to keep that I can't do it well enough. So now I have to embrace structure, whereas that's like the opposite of who I am. And had I have done that earlier, these businesses would all be double.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
So it's sort of embracing in a structure and I need to figure out, I don't need, like, everyone uses ClickUp. I'm never logging into ClickUp.
Okay.
Like, I fucking hate it. I don't want to touch it. I understand it's very useful.
Yep.
Right? However, for me, Excel works better.
Okay.
So they're like, oh, what we'll do is we'll get this and put in ClickUp. I was like, no, I don't need to be in ClickUp. That's not the realm in which I need to know the projects that these people are doing. And I don't even need to know the subtasks of what they're doing. And I don't need to be updated in real time. I'll have a meeting with them every week. It'll be 20 minutes and they'll tell me where they're at. And that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
You know, so like, it's a structure that I can do, which is very clear to me. It's very visual. I bought a project management Excel sheet off Etsy. Right?
How much you pay for that?
$5.
Killing
it's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
It's the best thing I've ever seen. It shits on everything I've ever used.
It's
right?
$5.
Dude, same as like the financial dashboard that I bought off Etsy. Yeah. Fucking phenomenal.
Really?
Basically takes everything for your P&L. So I have the bookkeeper every month, update all the numbers from it, and then it just spits out fucking data.
Yeah.
And dashboards, all visual. And I'm like, oh, look, this and this and this, all the numbers that I require.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And it costs $5.49.
There you go.
Yeah. And it was like, man, I've been like trying to figure some of this shit out for years.
Been paid $1,000 a month and all kinds of software.
Man, and Excel shits all over it. And then people are like, oh, we'll do it in Google Sheets. And it's like, no, it's got to be Excel. Like, there is a significant difference between the two.
Really?
The macros are so much better.
Yeah, right.
And so, yeah, I think it's just like, now I feel like I know everything that's happening at the moment. Like, I know all the structures, all the people.
Cool.
I know what everyone's working on. And I know, like, finances back to front. I know everything that I should know. And I feel like right now it's in a very consumable way for me to digest it and then be able to, like, think about it. Because, like, my job shouldn't be, like, I should be at 2 o'clock reading the paper, because, like, that's where I kind of digest everything.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, I have
sit on it.
I have to ingest a lot of information. And so if I make bad decisions based off the information that I'm getting and I don't have a chance to actually think about it, you know, like Jordan Peterson think about it. You know, like when Jordan Peterson says, like, I thought about something deeply, you can just picture that guy like this. Like, thinking about it deeply, right? Like,
for 3 days.
Thinking of all the different variables, like fucking,
yeah.
Like, you know, Doctor Strange and the.
Do you know his superpower in interviews is to think during interviews and endure that uncomfortable silence, especially live interviews when people are asking stuff and you see him just like, and you see people like, no, we can't have dead space. And they're like, say something. But we can't have dead space. Yeah, and he's actually weighing it up. And then, like, even changes his mind as the words are coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, I haven't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. But I think, like, that ability to do that is really, it's important. It's difficult, too. Yeah. It's like, you just kind of want to solve stuff. Sometimes you need to think about it.
Yeah.
You know? And I think, like,
play it out.
Like, not in the sales. People are like, I need to go in and think about it. It's like, you're not going to fucking think about it. You're never going to think about this another second in your life.
No.
Like, you're fat. You need to lose weight. What else you got to think about? You know, like, you fucking sort it out.
Think about how delicious food is.
Yeah, exactly. That's all you got to think about.
Yeah.
So I think, like, it's like that Telstra thing, man. Like, I make 8 decisions a year, but they're all really important.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's an interesting way to go about life.
Yeah.
I can't imagine Elon Musk. I can't.
Daddy Elon.
I can imagine what Daddy Elon.
Well, we said last week that he wasn't going to sack anyone, and he did it. He did it.
He sacked him.
Fuck them.
Fuck my couch.
Oh, well.
Yeah, it's a good place to stop.
That's it for another episode. Coffee is for closers. This is us. If you like this stuff, give us a comment, hit the like button, all that. If you're listening old school in the car, good for you.
Well done. Well done.
Let
us know what type of car you have in the YouTube comments when you go over there.
Log back in.
It's the only one we can monetize.
All right, goodbye.
Put that coffee down.